Hey folks, in this video you're going to get an overview of Sunday keys for Ableton. We're going to talk about the files you need to have, we're going to talk about the layout, the tracks, the various controls and scenes you have available, how to use the tonic pad generator, and the pre-mapped Nano Control 2 mappings and what those are. So let's get started. First off, here I am in, again, Ableton Live 10 Suite. So if you're using Ableton Live 9, the visuals might look a little bit different, but the functions are going to be exactly the same. And I'll also note that I am in Session View, so if you're not a super comfortable Ableton user, Ableton has two views called Session View and Arrangement View. You can toggle between the two views by clicking these two little buttons here on the top right of your screen. This is Arrangement View, which functions more like a traditional DAW. And then here you have Session View, where you have vertical tracks that can contain different sounds. And then when you go to Arrangement View, you'll see those same tracks now exist on a timeline. For live keys performance, Sunday Keys is going to work really well in Session View because then you have these different presets available to you that you can mix and match. Later on here on the video resource page, we will talk about how you can also use Sunday Keys in Arrangement View if you'd like to run tracks in Arrangement View at the same time. That's really cool. It's a really great way to use these key sounds and automate a lot of things so that they happen automatically. But for now, in this overview video, we're going to stick in Session View. And if all you're going to be using Ableton for is playing key sounds, then I definitely recommend that you do it in Session View because that's how Sunday Keys was really designed to be used. Okay, now, regarding the sound library content that you need to have downloaded in order to use Sunday Keys, all you need to have is the Ableton 9 core library. So that's included in Ableton 9 Standard and Suite, and then the core library from Ableton Live 10 Standard and Suite will also work. And then you also need to have the Grand Piano pack downloaded. This is also included in 9 Standard and above. So if you see core library and Grand Piano here within packs under places, then you're ready to go. Otherwise, head over to your Ableton account and go to licenses and packs and make sure you just download the Grand Piano here. It will be a free download if you've purchased 9 Standard or newer. All right, now while we're here over in the browser, we're going to go ahead and add the Sunday Keys for Ableton folder to places. So you're just going to choose Add Folder, and then you're going to navigate to it on your computer. So I'll go to Music, because this is where I put my download, and I'm going to choose Sunday Keys for Ableton, and then I'm just going to hit Open. When I do this, it creates a folder link here in Places that I can go to. So when I click on this folder, I'm able to access this set file for Sunday Keys no matter what Ableton set I'm in. And then I can also go up here to Presets and view all of the individual instruments that are included, the instrument racks that make Sunday Keys what it is. So they're organized by track type. So I can go here to pianos and I can pull in any of these racks into any other project that I'm working on. Or if I want to add another instrument, a copy of an instrument to Sunday Keys, you can do that here. And then you also have the entire racks that power each of these tracks that you can pull in as well. So it's really handy to be able to do that. Now I'm going to close the browser and let's talk about the main layout of Sunday Keys for Ableton. So over here on the right side of Session View, you have your master scenes. You can see we've got a few different sections of scenes here. The top 2 rows are your favorites. Now this is just something that we've put together to give you a really nice starting point to be able to just click some sounds and be able to play. There are 13 pianos and electric pianos, 13 pads, 13 synths, and 13 aux sounds like ARPs, BPMs, and synth-based sounds for a total of 52 individual presets in Sunday Keys for Ableton. And when you use these 8 tracks here at the top, you can layer up to 8 of those sounds at any given time to create layered patches. So one way to interact with Sunday Keys for Ableton right out of the gate, is just to choose a sound that you'd like to play. And then you can start playing. If I wanted to, I could bring in this organic pad. turn off the warm pad and just do the piano and the organic pad. Let's add in some bass. Now you're not limited to just the sounds here in the favorites row. These just exist as a starting place, and they represent the top 2 buttons on each section of the Nano Control 2. So if you have the Nano Control 2 connected to your Ableton setup, and in preferences, remember, you have your Nano Control 2 set to on for remote, and you'll be able to use the Nano Control 2 without having to do any mini mapping. And the top button on the Nano Control in section 1 is going to select the worship piano. And when I press that second button, it's going to select the mod piano, and then the third button is off. And that's true for each track. You've got the 8 total tracks. So using the Nano Control 2, I can really easily just grab some sounds and start playing. So you can really quickly and dynamically move through the different sounds and presets, but you're not limited to these top 2 rows. You could grab something from anywhere that you'd like, as long as it's in one of these vertical rows here, and you're ready to go. So you could grab this sound instead. And I could still layer that with a piano if I wanted. Or I could grab another synth sound from the other synth row here. I'll turn the piano off. You can choose any of these sounds at any time. You're not limited to any one scene. You're not limited to any one row. You've just got these 8 different columns of options, and you can really, really sculpt sounds dynamically in the moment, which is really, really great. Now, before you get too far into making this template your own and moving things around and making modifications, I recommend that you just do a save as to create a duplicate of the set file so that you can always go back and reference the original if you want to make sure that things are still working well, or if you want to pull something out of the original into something that you've tweaked or made new MIDI mappings to. So to do that, you're going to go to File and choose Save Live Set As, or you can just choose Save a Copy. And it will ask where you would like to save it. I like to save mine in the same place where my original download was. So I'm just going to go here to Sunday Keys for Ableton. And I'm just going to keep it named Copy, because that's pretty self-explanatory as to what it is. Now below your 2 favorites rows, you've got a row of off buttons here. And then you've just got a divider here of a couple spaces. Then we have some example presets put together here that demonstrate how you can type in the BPM and the time signature of a master scene. And then whenever you fire that scene, Ableton's clock will automatically jump to that tempo and that subdivision. So you can see here, you just type in your number of the BPM and then a space and then BPM and then another space, and you can type in your time signature. Now the BPM could be at the front, time signature could be in the middle. As long as it's somewhere in here and it's separated by space, then it's going to work, and Ableton's going to pick it up. And so if you wanted to run the metronome here, you would just hit this little button and the metronome would start running as well. I'm not going to leave the metronome on for now. And you can see in each of these different presets, we've got some sounds, some clips turned on and others are turned off. And then we've also got some with some notes made about the volume of that clip and where it starts. This allows you to start with a sound down and then use a fader on your MIDI controller to fade that sound in dynamically rather than firing an entirely new scene. You can actually fade the volume of that sound up over time. We talk about that later on here on the video resource page there is a whole video about that. It's called Setting Saved Values to Your Presets and Clips. And in the next video here on the resource page, I'll show you how to create a new scene or preset of your own. It's really, really easy to do. So it's as simple as copying and pasting a sound. So the first section here is your favorite section. This is just a jumping off place. This is a quick way to be able to perform if you're not sure where you're going and you just want to flow. You can put your presets here or anywhere you'd like over here in your master column. But these are some examples for you to check out. And then the third section of the template here is the Sunday Keys presets. So this is all 13 presets that are included for the pianos, for the pads, synths, and auxiliary sounds. And this is also where you can see the tonic pad generator section. What I want to draw your attention to next is when you play a clip, which chooses a preset here in Sunday Keys for Ableton, the bottom of the screen will automatically reflect the controls relevant to that chosen instrument. So when I click and play the worship piano here, I have several different levels of control here. The entire piano track has global effects, like this low pass filter, which makes the piano darker or brighter. And no matter which clip I play, that low pass filter is going to take effect. So all of these effects here in this first set of macros are global effects. So the low pass filter, the high pass filter, the overall volume, you've got compression, and then a 3-band EQ. Now, if you're using the Nano Control 2, each of the main tracks has the low pass filter automatically pre-mapped to the knob of that section on the Nano Control 2, which is really great to be able to level out the brightness of your synths and your pads with that single control. And then as you move through presets, they're still going to be affected by that low pass filter. So it's a really nice and controlled way to interact with those synthesizer sounds. So if I go back here, then the next thing we see here is chain selector. This is where you can set the overall volume of any individual instrument in the track. So if I wanted to make the worship piano a little bit louder, I could select this volume area and I could either drag it up or I could type it in. So this is where you can mix the overall volume of any individual instrument. And as you scroll down, you'll see all 13 of the piano instruments are included here. And then later on, we'll talk about all of these add your own instruments links in the chain as well. Then over here on the right side, you see the worship piano rack. And so if I change presets here, then this rack will change out to reflect the currently selected preset. So here I have the worship piano, and I've got some controls there. And then right below it, I have the mod piano, which has a few different effects available. So here with the worship piano selected, I can adjust parameters that will sculpt the sound. So I can turn off this smash compression. I can make it really dry, take out all the reverb, or I can bring the reverb way up. One of my favorite features is this octave up knob here. And then you also have a tone control for the piano specifically. Now, if you make any changes to the worship piano rack and change presets, and then come back to the worship piano, you'll see that those changes are still reflected. In another video, we'll talk about how to automate those changes so that they only happen on the individual clip instead of globally. But generally speaking, unless you tell it not to, Ableton is going to remember whatever changes you make to these settings. So if you brought the smash down, and then you copy and pasted the worship piano somewhere else on the track, it would still have smash set to the same thing. So you'll see if I go up here and I play worship piano from favorites, smash is still set to 56. Now each track also has a volume fader right here that's global. And on the Nano Control 2, if you're using that, the 8 tracks are pre-mapped to control these volume faders. And you could easily MIDI map your own controller to control these volume faders as well. We have a video on that just a little bit further down the video resource page where we will explain how to do that. And then if you also go here over to the right side of your screen and click on this little S, then you'll see that each track also has a shimmer bus send. So if I'd like to apply some shimmer to my piano, then I would click and drag on the send and turn it up. Now the shimmer bus here is stock Ableton audio effects only. If you'd like to swap the shimmer bus out for something like Valhalla Shimmer or the shimmer plugin of your choice, then it would be as simple as deleting this instrument rack and then dropping your Valhalla Shimmer or similar in. So you can definitely do that really easily. But if you want to add shimmer globally to a piano or to your pad track, this is how you would do it. And in the automation video later on here on the video resource page, I'll show you how you can set it so that the warm pad will have the shimmer turned up, and then when you go to a different pad, it will not have shimmer applied. That's something that's really easy to do as well. Now let's talk about Tonic. The Tonic pad generator is one of the most popular features in the main stage version of Sunday Keys, and it's a really, really cool feature here in Sunday Keys for Ableton as well. How this works is really straightforward. You just play the clip in the key of the song that you're playing, and this really nice drone pad will slowly fade in. Now when you have Tonic selected, you've got some global tone controls here under Tonic Pad Generator. So there's actually 5 different layers that make up the Tonic drone. So we'll peel these back here, and you can dial them in one at a time. And they each have a unique sound. And you can blend them together as you'd like as well. You also have a global low-pass filter and a global high-pass filter. So you can thin out or darken the character of the drone so that it sits just right in your mix. And then you also have a master volume control here. Set that back to 0. Now you can also further adjust the character of each individual layer by just clicking its name here in the chain selector, and then you'll have filter cutoff, attack, and release time. So if you'd like things to fade in or out more quickly or more slowly, then you can adjust the attack and the release times for each of these individual layers so that the fade happens over the length of time that makes sense for you. Changing keys is as simple as just playing a new clip. And Tonic will gently fade between the two. And later on, when we talk about the automation stuff that you can do here in Ableton, you'll also be able to automate these things so that when you fire a new clip, it'll have different settings for these volumes as well. All those principles will work. You're just able to program all that automation into a clip so that when you play that clip, all that automation and those new settings happen automatically. Now, if you want to turn Tonic off, just click any of these square stop buttons. And then if you were to play a different scene here that didn't have Tonic ready to go on it, then the drone would also stop playing. Now, if you want to use Tonic on any of your favorites or in any of your presets, it's as simple as highlighting the clip, hitting Command-C to copy, and then pasting where you'd like it to go. So now when I fire this master scene, the drone's going to fade in the key of A, and I'm free to play on top of it. Change to a new preset, and the old preset will sustain as long as I hold the sustain pedal with my foot. And then after I let it go, everything will fade out and I can start the next song. Now, like I said before, the 2 piano tracks are identical. They just contain different order of sounds. And the pad tracks are identical, the synth tracks are identical, and the auxiliary tracks are identical. The only differences here between, for example, pads 1 and pads 2 is that and this is true of the synths and auxiliary as well. Pads 1, synths 1, and auxiliary 1 have darker and less aggressive default settings than pads 2, synths 2, and auxiliary 2 do. And I'll explain what that means. So if I go to the warm pad here in pads 1, it sounds like this. I'm going to shut that off, and I'm going to go to the exact same preset, the warm pad here in 2. And it's just got a little bit more brightness out of the gate. So if you are improvising, generally the 1 tracks are going to be a little bit more mellow by default, and the 2 tracks are going to be more aggressive. Now obviously you can change this. If you wanted to make the pad in pads 1 more aggressive, you could just click on it and then bring up the filter cutoff. And then now it's going to sound identical to what's in pads 2. And you could also automate those filter cutoff changes so that when you change to a given clip, it's automatically going to adopt that filter cutoff setting. So there's so much more that we can do. So make sure that you check out the other videos here on the video resource page. In the next video, we're going to talk about creating a new scene and preset of your own. And then later on, we're going to talk about setting saved values for your presets. And we'll talk about mapping controls to your MIDI controller and all sorts of other great stuff. So be sure to check out the other videos here on the video resource page. We'll see you there.